Why would you be arrested for speaking?
The federal government has been persecuting me and my family for about 4 years. We moved out to Tucson from Bend, Oregon in 2017, in part to get away from the left. We ended up opening a small family coffee shop. The lockdown started. We were targeted by Pima County. We started getting threats, people calling the shop. We didn't know what was going on, and some customers started sending me screenshots and said, "You're on the Pima County Wall of Shame." Well, what is that? It's a website that Pima County had made to list supposedly non-compliant businesses, and they had set up this program. It became this nightmare. So one of the Pima County Board of Supervisors invited me to one of the meetings because I had emailed and said, "Hey, you've wrongly listed us as non-compliant. It's caused my family to have death threats against us." So I went to this board meeting. My wife and kids have to wake up and read these foul comments, so I just started reading them. Everyone knew I wasn't directing these at the board, but they treated it as if I was disorderly simply for reading comments that were on our own social media. Within 30 seconds of speaking, I was surrounded by sheriff's officers. I was handcuffed, and I was let out of the room, and I was arrested for disorderly conduct for speaking. We came to find out later that the chair of the board had actually been the one who made the so-called complaint, had never been to our shop. They wanted to choose a target to assert their authority, and they found that there was somebody who was actually going to come confront them. A year later, I was arrested again for speaking, and actually that second arrest is what's most relevant right now. I got a frantic call from a father. He said that his son was being quarantined. They forced him to wear a mask. He threw it in the nurse's trash, and they made him dig it out of the trash. He said, "Would you come here and witness this? Help me keep calm and help me figure out what to do." I actually called another father. I thought, let's have a couple of witnesses. Now, this is where things get interesting because we were set up. Media worldwide portrayed this incident as 3 large men stormed a school, tried to arrest and kidnap and zip tie a principal. The police were called and they fled. And if you go to my website, you'll see actually what happened, which is nothing of the sort. 3 fathers got arrested for sitting in a school office having a conversation. The main judge in Tucson, he said, "You guys didn't stand up. You didn't take a threatening step toward anyone. All you did was disagree." And then he turned to the school district and said, "You don't get to tell them how they disagree." You look like you might have a question.
I'm just so fascinated that the wickedness of this. Americans need to wake up. This is so unacceptable. It is evil. And when you have actors like this, when you have people like this behaving like this, if you do not push back, if you do not do something, you're guilty. And I thank God for you, Kelly Walker, standing up. I hope folks will go to givesendgo.com/freedom talk, givesendgo.com/freedom talk. We'll be right back. The federal government targeted innocent parents who were trying to be advocates for their children.
September 29th, 2021, the National School Board Association sent a letter to Joe Biden asking for federal assistance dedicated to these dangerous parents, and this whole domestic terrorist narrative came about. By October 4th, Merrick Garland issued the memo designating parents as domestic terrorists. Then October 18th, there was a letter by 14 attorneys general sent to Garland and Biden citing this National School Board Association letter as a massive fraud. 1 week ago, in a letter dated October 18th, 2021, my fellow attorneys general and I laid out the facts surrounding the massive fraud that the National School Board Association has perpetrated on the American people. In a letter to the Department of Justice, NSBA accused parents throughout the United States of, quote, domestic terrorism and hate crimes, warranting the invocation of the Patriot Act in regards to domestic terrorism.
We've never seen it in our lifetimes. Until the nonsense of COVID and the masking and the mandates started to happen, nobody had ever seen anything like this in our lifetimes. We would never dream that mayors and governors could be so wicked, that school boards could be so wicked. Really, the ugly underbelly of our fellow Americans. We saw it, and it's hideous.
No, you're going to hear this because your health department made us hear this.
Mr. Walker?
You're going to hear this.
Mr. Walker, if you don't watch your language, I'm going to have you escorted out of the room.
Your health department threw us under the bus, and the constant barrage of this kind of language
Sergeant Arms
has been sent.
Please escort this man out of the hearing room.
No. Your health department threw us to the rage mob.
I've asked you to behave and to...
I have a right to speak.
Okay.
I have a right to speak.
Let go of the podium.
I'll censor the language, but you need to understand that my family has been submitted to threats. My family has been submitted to threats because of you. Death threats on my staff. You are violating my civil rights.
You are resisting.
I'm not resisting. I'm just strong.